She made my mother disappear from her wedding. Smiled while she erased us from the photos. So when it was my turn to get married, I planned something quiet. If you believe patience can be more powerful than anger, hit like, subscribe, and stay with me till the end. Because this isn't a story about screaming back. It's about letting justice speak, in silence. Something she would never forget, that I used to think weddings were about love. About families coming together. About memories frozen in photographs. I was wrong. My husband's sister, my sister-in-law, got married a year before I did. It was a big wedding. Downtown hotel. Crystal chandeliers. A DJ blasting romantic pop songs. An open bar. Professional photographers with expensive cameras and headsets. Everything smelled like roses and champagne. My mom stood next to me in a navy blue dress she had bought just for the wedding. She kept smoothing the fabric, nervous. "Do I look okay?" she whispered. "You look beautiful, Mom," I said. We walked closer to the stage where the bride and groom were posing. The photographer shouted, "Bride's family first." My sister-in-law stepped forward with her parents and cousins. We followed behind them. Then the photographer raised his hand. "Not you. Please step aside." My mom froze. "I'm family too," she said quietly. My sister-in-law turned around with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Let's keep these photos just for my side," she said sweetly. "We'll take more later." Later never came. We stood near the bar while picture after picture was taken. My mom kept pretending to check her phone so no one would see her eyes filling up. I wanted to say something. My chest felt tight. But my husband leaned close and whispered, "Please, don't make a scene." So I stayed quiet. 2 weeks later, the wedding album arrived. Thick. Glossy. Heavy. My mom came over with dessert. "Let's look at the pictures," she said, smiling. We opened the album on the coffee table. Page after page. Bride laughing. Bride with her parents. Bride with friends. Bride with people I didn't even recognize. I flipped faster. My heart started pounding. My mom wasn't in a single photo. Not one. Not even in the background. It was like she had never been there. I messaged my sister-in-law. "Hey, do you have any pictures with my mom?" She didn't show up in the album. She replied an hour later. "Oh. I don't think the photographer took any of her." I stared at the screen. That was a lie. I had seen the camera pointed at my mom. I had seen the flash. But now, she had been erased. My mom forced a smile. "It's okay," she said. "Pictures don't matter." But that night, I heard her crying in the guest room. I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. They didn't just skip her, I thought. They erased her. And that's when something inside me changed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. My sister-in-law had a way of being cruel without ever raising her voice. She talked in fake sweet sentences. "Oh, that's what you're wearing. I guess that works for you." She loved attention. Loved being admired. Loved reminding people her family was better. At family dinners, she talked over my mom. Corrected her. Ignored her questions. And I watched. Low suspense music. One evening, I asked her calmly, "Why wasn't my mom in your wedding photos?" She shrugged. Probably the photographer's fault. No apology. No guilt. That was when I realized. She didn't think she had done anything wrong. To her, my family didn't matter. I never argued. Never yelled. never exposed her. On the outside, I was calm. On the inside, I was collecting memories. Her tone. Her smirks. Her confidence. I learned something about patience. Patience isn't weakness. It's preparation. When my own wedding date was announced, she hugged me dramatically. "I can't wait to help you plan everything," she said. And I smiled. Of course. But inside, a thought formed. You made my mother invisible. One day, you'll know how that feels. I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to fight. I wanted her to understand, without me saying a word. So I started planning. Quietly. And she never noticed. I thought time would dull the hurt. That maybe, after a few months, I'd forget what happened. I didn't. Every family gathering felt different after that wedding. At Thanksgiving dinner, my sister-in-law sat at the head of the table, laughing loudly, telling stories about her perfect wedding day. "Oh my God, the photographer was amazing," she said, sipping her wine. "Everyone looked so good in my pictures." My mom sat quietly across the table, cutting her turkey into tiny pieces. I watched her hands. They were shaking. Inside me, something twisted. I wanted to say, "You didn't let her be in those pictures." But I stayed quiet. A few weeks later, my mom confessed something to me while we were folding laundry. "I almost didn't go to your wedding dress fitting," she said. "Why?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because I don't feel like I belong anymore." Those words hit harder than any insult. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. This wasn't about photos anymore. This was about dignity. My sister-in-law had taken something invisible, my mother's sense of place in the family. My sister-in-law got worse. At my bridal shower, she stood up with a glass in her hand. "Let's make a toast," she said. "I hope your wedding is simple." People laughed politely. Then she added, "Not everyone needs a big moment." Her eyes met mine. I smiled back. But inside my chest, my heart was racing. She thinks she won, I thought. She thinks I forgot. Some nights, I lay awake wondering if I should just confront her. I imagined saying, "You humiliated my mom." I imagined her denying it. Laughing. Turning it into a joke. And I imagined the family saying, "Don't start drama." So I stayed silent. But silence has weight. It sits on your chest at night. It follows you into the shower. It whispers when you're alone. Do something. One day, I asked the photographer from her wedding directly. "Did you take pictures of my mom?" He looked uncomfortable. "Yes. I did." "Then why weren't they in the album?" He hesitated. "The bride told me not to include them." My stomach dropped. There it was. Proof. But no one wanted to hear it. When I told my husband, he rubbed his face and sighed. "She's always been like that," he said. "Can we just move on?" Move on. From my mother being erased. I nodded. But inside, I felt alone. At a family barbecue, my sister-in-law started going through her phone. "Look at this one," she said, holding it up. "My mom looks gorgeous here." She swiped. "Oh, and this is my aunt, and my cousin." She didn't show a single picture of my mom. Not one. My mom stood near the grill, pretending not to notice. I saw her blink fast. That night, she told me, "I don't think I'll come to big family events anymore." That's when I knew. If I stayed silent forever, she would keep shrinking. And my sister-in-law would keep growing. I asked myself hard questions. What if I'm overreacting? What if revenge makes me just like her? I didn't want to become cruel. I wanted justice. Not loud justice. Quiet justice. Something that would make her feel exactly what she had done. Invisible. Unimportant. Small. But I also felt fear. Fear of family backlash. Fear of being called petty. Fear of being misunderstood. I'd look at my mom and think, if I do nothing, she learns it's okay to treat her like this. If I do something, at least she knows she mattered. By the time my wedding date got closer, my sister-in-law had become more confident, more arrogant, more careless. She thought I was harmless. She thought I had accepted my place. But one night, lying awake in bed, I finally made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. I wouldn't expose her. I would teach her, without saying a word. And that's when the plan began to take shape. The night I decided to stop being quiet in my heart. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt focused. Like something inside me had finally stood up straight. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to my husband breathe beside me. If I confront her, I thought, she'll deny everything. If I complain, the family will say I'm dramatic, asterisk. But if I let her feel what my mother felt, she wouldn't need words to understand. That was the moment the plan was born. Not out of rage. Out of clarity. A week later, I met my wedding photographer at a cafe downtown. Young guy. Professional. Calm. We talked about lighting, locations, and timelines. Then I lowered my voice. There's something important I need to tell you. He leaned in. There will be one guest, my sister-in-law. I need you to take a lot of pictures of her. He looked surprised. Of course, he said. She's family. No, I said gently. She's special. I didn't explain yet. Just enough to plant the idea. I left the cafe with my heart racing. This was real now. That night, guilt tried to sneak in. What if this makes me cruel? What if my mom wouldn't want this? I imagined her saying, let it go. But then I remembered her standing at that wedding, holding her purse, trying not to cry. And I whispered to myself, this is not cruelty. This is balance. A month before the wedding, I met the videographer. He was older, experienced. I gave him the same instruction. Please make sure you get lots of footage of my sister-in-law. During the ceremony. At the reception. While people are dancing. He smiled. Sure thing. I paid extra. Money for silence. Money for focus. At home, I created folders on my laptop. Wedding photos. Wedding video. And another folder, hidden deep inside. Final edit. Every night, I imagined what would go in there. Not her. One afternoon, my sister-in-law came over to help. She watched me organizing seating charts. So, she said casually, did you hire a good photographer? Yes. Make sure he gets my good side, she laughed. My heart skipped. Of course, I said. He'll get everything. She didn't notice the way I said it. She thought she was safe. The waiting was the hardest part. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. thinking, what if this backfires? I imagined her yelling. Family arguing. My husband confused. But then I imagined her opening the album. Scrolling. Frowning. And feeling what my mother felt. That image kept me steady. The hotel ballroom smelled like candles and fresh flowers. White chairs. Gold ribbons. Soft music floating in the air. I stood in the bridal room, wearing my dress. My hands were cold. My sister-in-law walked in wearing a bright red gown. "Wow," she said. "You look decent." I smiled. "Thank you for coming." She laughed. "Of course. Everyone's going to be looking at me anyway." She was right about one thing. They would. Just not the way she thought. During the ceremony, I saw the photographer move closer to her. Click. Flash. Click. She straightened her posture. Smiled bigger. During dinner, the videographer circled her table. She leaned toward my mother-in-law and whispered loudly, "I feel like a celebrity." My chest tightened. But I stayed calm. I walked through the room, greeting guests, pretending everything was normal. Inside, I was counting. Every click was a step closer. At one point, my husband leaned in. "Why is the camera always on my sister?" My pulse jumped. I forced a laugh. "She's very expressive. Photographers love expressive people." He nodded. Didn't question it. I exhaled slowly. 2 weeks later, I went to the photographer's studio. We sat in front of a big screen. Hundreds of images. There she was. Laughing. Dancing. Posing. I felt my throat tighten. For a second, doubt stabbed me. "This is petty," a voice said. "This is small." But then another voice answered. "So was what she did to your mother." I turned to the photographer. "I need the final album to exclude her." He hesitated. "Exclude? How much?" "All of it." Silence filled the room. He nodded slowly. "I understand." The videographer was harder. "She's in a lot of shots," he said. "I know," I replied. "That's why I hired you." He studied me. "You're sure?" "Yes." He didn't argue. He just started cutting. Frame by frame. She vanished. While the album was being printed, I couldn't sleep. I imagined her face. Shock. Anger. Confusion. I imagined the family's reaction. Questions. I told myself, I'm not attacking her. I'm showing her what she already did. That thought kept me breathing. The album arrived in a thick white box. My hands trembled as I placed it on the table. The family group chat buzzed. "Wedding photos are ready." I typed. And before anyone could reply, my sister-in-law sent a message. "Send them to me first." I stared at the screen. Then I pressed send. The moment I pressed send, my chest tightened. The family group chat went quiet. No laughing emojis. No beautiful bride messages. Just silence. Then, 3 dots appeared. And disappeared. Then appeared again. My phone buzzed. "Sister-in-law, what is this?" I didn't reply. Another message came. "Sister-in-law, where am I in these photos?" I set the phone down on the table and waited. 10 minutes later, she called. Her voice wasn't sweet this time. It was sharp. "What did you do?" she asked. I stayed calm. "I shared the wedding album," I said. "No," she snapped. "You removed me." I looked at the album in front of me. My wedding. My family. My memories. "I didn't remove anyone," I said. "This is the final edit." "You're lying," she said. "I know I was photographed." "Yes," I replied. "You were. Then why am I not there?" There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing. And then I said it, slowly, gently. Because that's what you did to my mother. Silence. Real silence this time. Not the kind you choose. The kind that hits you. She showed up at my house that evening. Didn't knock. Pushed the door open. Her face was red. You humiliated me, she said. I stood up from the couch. You humiliated my mom first. That was different. How? She opened her mouth. Closed it. I walked to the shelf and took out her wedding album. I opened it on the table. Page by page. Find my mother, I said. She flipped through. Her hand slowed. Her face changed. She's not here, she whispered. Exactly, I said. Now look at my album. She opened mine. Turned pages. Her own face missing. I did the same thing you did, I said. I just waited for my turn. Her voice shook. You could have talked to me. And you could have apologized. She looked down. For the first time since I'd known her, she looked small. Word spread fast. My mother-in-law called. What's going on? She asked. I told her everything. The wedding. The photos. The lie. There was a pause. Then she said, I didn't know. Neither did most of them. They thought it was an accident. They thought the photographer made a mistake. Now they knew. At the next family dinner, no one laughed about her wedding anymore. No one praised her album. The story had changed. And so had the room. My sister-in-law stopped bragging. Stopped showing pictures. Stopped standing in the center. When people asked about her photos in my album, she changed the subject. She avoided my mother. Not out of pride. Out of shame. One night, she messaged me. I didn't think it mattered, she wrote. I didn't think your mom would care. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I typed. She did. And so did I. No insults. No victory speech. Just truth. That night, I slept deeply for the first time in months. No tight chest. No replaying scenes. Just quiet. In the morning, my mom hugged me in the kitchen. You didn't have to do that, she said. I wanted to, I replied. She smiled, softly. I felt seen again. That was the moment I knew. It was worth it. We still attend family gatherings. My sister-in-law is polite now. Careful. She doesn't interrupt my mother anymore. She doesn't ignore her. Sometimes, I catch her watching me. Like she's trying to understand how I did it. Without shouting. Without fighting. Just waiting. I learned something important from this. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. Justice doesn't need fists. Sometimes, the strongest response is a mirror. You don't destroy them. You show them. What they did. How it felt. And let their conscience do the rest. They made my mother invisible once. But she will never feel invisible again. And my sister-in-law. She learned something she never expected to learn from me. Silence can be louder than cruelty. If you believe quiet justice is stronger than loud anger, like this video, subscribe, and comment. Silent revenge is the strongest. Because sometimes, the best revenge is letting someone feel exactly what they gave.